All right, and we are back. This is NHL 20 Franchise Mode Calgary Flames. This is episode number 33. Welcome back to our franchise mode, and welcome to the off season of 2023. So, if you've been watching this franchise mode, the last few episodes at least, obviously we know it did not end the way we wanted our season to end here in 2023, 2022, 2023. You can see here that we did not win the Stanley Cup, but that wasn't the only part of it. We didn't even make the playoffs for that part. Let's get down here to your playoff tray. I know we looked at this in the end of the last episode, so I'm not going to go through it, but there's a look at your playoffs. The Columbus Blue Jackets sweeping the Colorado Avalanche for the Stanley Cup. First time in their franchise history, by the way, that the Blue Jackets are Stanley Cup champions. So yeah, I mean, obviously it was disappointing. The way the season ended. We just missed the playoffs by what was it, a point? When we look at, we can even go here by West. When we look at the West standings here, you can see our division was really well represented in here. Took both wildcard spots, but there we are at, where are we here? Where are we? There we are at 90, so we missed by 2 points. With the LA Kings claiming the last spot at 92, 92 for San Jose, 93 for St. Louis wasn't in our div, but Arizona, Vancouver 94. Like, it was really tight, and we missed by 2. If we had one more win, we probably would have made the playoffs. If we had 2 more wins this year, we could have made higher in the playoffs, and probably by 3 more wins, we probably would have been in a top 3 position in our division. Which is insane. Even our division leader, who was, Edmonton here at 95. So just 1 point ahead of Vancouver for 90. So yeah, I mean, like, we could have won our division with just like a handful more of wins, like maybe three or 4 wins. We probably could have won our division, let alone 1 win to make the playoffs. So, I mean, that's how crazy it was. That's how crazy tight it was. We technically finished last, even though we tied with Vegas. We technically finished last in the Pacific, if you want to look here at the Pacific. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can look at all these numbers on the far left there of 1 through 8, but I mean, at the end of the day, this was one hell of a tight division. The division, you can see, like I said, separated by just 5 points when we look at the point category there from Edmonton to us. So, I mean, it was a crazy season. Obviously a lot didn't go right for us this year. Again, I'm not going to go through it. Go back and watch those last few episodes. Obviously it started way back in the beginning of the season, a couple episodes ago in like November when we went on a 2-8-0 run, which saw us fire our head coach and our entire coaching staff. We slowly climbed out of the basement, and but our division just kept winning. Everybody just kept winning, and we tried to catch up. And we did go on, a better stretch. I think we went like, I don't know, spitballing here, like 7-3-1, 6-4-1 or something in the next following months, but it wasn't good enough. We didn't go on any massive winning streaks. We didn't win 10 in a row, which would have helped really solidify us back in the standings. So it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said in the last episode, if you watched it, it was a tight race. I mean, it came down to game number 82, like I said, if we were going to make the playoffs or not. I didn't think it was even going to be that tight, to make the playoffs, but we did. We came close. Unfortunately, we just lost too many games. When it was all said and done, this is the way it ended. We did end off with a win, but I think it was by this Arizona-Chicago game, especially this divisional game against Arizona, I think is what did it. We had a handful of wins, though. Look at this. A big divisional win there against LA, one there against Edmonton. We got a divisional loss. There's this Anaheim and this Arizona game really killed us there, killed our playoff hopes. We did get a 5-0 win over St. Louis there. But yeah, I think maybe these last 2 Pacific games. But there's many games in these last couple of months that we easily could have won as well. That would have, like I said, made the playoffs at least, and could have even have won our division. It was that close. So when we look at the season as a whole, I mean, obviously it's a failure of a season because, again, not only were we supposed to be, fighting for the Stanley Cup playoffs, but we should have been a cup contender this year. We really could have been winning the Stanley Cup. This year we had a good enough team. We made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. We made the deep in the playoffs 2 years before that. I think we made it to the second round both years before that, which is progression. And then to be in the Final Four last year, in the West Finals and lose to the Avalanche, who eventually won the Cup. I mean, this should have been the year we won the Stanley Cup. There's no doubt about it. So, I mean, anything short of a Stanley Cup is considered a failure on a season. Obviously, without even making the playoffs, it's considered a failure. But to me, we have to move on from here. I mean, there's not much we can do. It was a horrible season. We got to put it behind us. It was just one of our last 4 seasons that we played. We've got our 5th full season coming up now here. This is a chance to win the Cup. And it's not easy. I mean, that's why, I know this is just a video game and whatnot. So, I mean, you can in this video game, you can realistically win a Stanley Cup. But in real life, it's not that easy. I mean, to win this Stanley Cup, I mean, it takes a long time. And it takes a long time at being good. You look at teams like Washington, San Jose. I know San Jose hasn't won, but Washington, St. Louis, teams like that who were good for so long and never won a cup until finally they got it. And I don't know if that's going to happen with San Jose, probably not. But teams like that where they're just so good, they make the playoffs every year. They contend for President's trophies. They're so good. They get deep in the playoffs, but they lose every single year. Like, how many years did Washington not even make it past the second round? Until they finally did and won a Stanley Cup. What about St. Louis for how many years that they didn't win a cup? So, I mean, it's just insane. You got to work at it. It takes a long time. It wasn't going to happen in our first couple of years. Even though we were slowly progressing, we were bound to hit a bump in the road eventually, and we did, and it cost us an entire season. But we need to be able to bounce back and be just as good next year as our previous seasons, and hopefully win the Stanley Cup next year. That's all we can do is just take it one season at a time. So, without further ado, that's enough ranting about the past season. We're gonna move on. We're gonna get over it. Obviously, we got a quick turnaround here. We can get through this summer and get right back to it. With the following year. Like I said, just a fresh start. All of our players had down years pretty much. They did pick it up in the end, but all of our players had down years. Everybody was it just was not a good season all around. So we have a chance to turn things around. And we'll look at our team in a second, but we do have a really good team still. We are probably going to make a change to our core. I don't know if we'll get into that in this episode, if that will be in the July episode, which might be the next one. Let's see how much we can get through here. We're definitely going to get through the draft, obviously, the re-signing phase, whatever, right up to July 1 here in this one. We'll see if we can get into free agency and look at some options there as well. So let's start simming here. Let's get right up into it. Here, what are we on? We're on June 1st here. I guess the draft is around the 21 here. Is that the draft? No, draft day is right here. Draft days right here. This is draft interview. What's red? Retirements. All right, so let's get up to retirements. Don't know if we're expecting any retirements. We lost obviously Giordano the year before that, so I don't think we have any old players. There is Columbus. There's the Charlotte Checkers, your Calder Cup champions in the American League. New salary cap, sure. All right. Let's get up to retirement. So here's the draft lottery odds. So we stay at 12. Looking there at 12. Calgary stays at 12. So that's too bad. I was hoping for a top 3 spot, but it is what it is. You can see Chicago, who should have had the top pick, moves to 4 because Boston moves up in there. They move from 5 to 1. Buffalo stays at 2 to 2, and the Rangers stay at 3 to 3. So actually, it's only Boston that moves all the way from 5 to 1, which is insane. Why did Chicago move from 1 to 4? That sucks. Islanders 4 or 5 and onward. And then everybody else is the same, including us staying at 12. So we will pick 12th overall in the upcoming draft. All right, let's get to retirements here. Go through the screen quickly. All right, so central scouting, yeah. All right. Retirements. Let's get up to the interview process. Let's get our retirement list here. Like I said, I'm not expecting anybody from our team. All right, players that have retired. Let's view the list. From the Calgary Flames, none. I guess we're looking at all. Joe Thornton is calling it a career after 1,890 games, not 1,800 games. 1,890 games there. Eric Stahl, 1,445. Patrice Bergeron, the former Flame, calling it a career. So did spend a playoff run with us last year, I think it was, and half a season. So, I mean, majority of that came with, obviously, Boston. Very end came with Calgary and Buffalo. Hell of a career for Patrice Bergeron. Joe Thornton does go without winning a Stanley Cup in his career, unfortunately. Eric Stahl won a cup way back in 2008. Justin Williams won, fucking 4 Stanley Cups or something in his career. Hell of a career for Justin Williams. I was going to say maybe be a Hall of Fame. Thornton will be a Hall of Fame for sure. Patrice Bergeron will be a Hall of Fame. Stahl and Williams would probably be on the bubble. Same with Corey Perry, won a cup, but calling it a career after how many games. Pominville, Dustin Brown, you could maybe put in that category too. Duncan Keith will be a Hall of Famer. Zdeno Chara. So a lot of Hall of Famers retiring here, or future Hall of Famers, I should say. Like, look at that list. Thornton, Stahl, Bergeron, Perry, Brown, Keith, Chara. A lot of these guys were staples in the NHL for so many years, for 2 decades at least. They're all calling it a career, so it's a huge wave of veteran players that are leaving the league that we watched for so long. Bobby Ryan, Andrew Ladd in there, Dustin Byfuglien, Shea Weber. My God, look at this list. Ryan Suter down there as well. About time. James Neal, the former Flame there. Does not win a Stanley Cup. Valtteri Filppula, Ryan Kessler, that goon, doesn't win a cup. How about Brent Seabrook? So Seabrook, Keith in the same year retiring. Nielsen, Soderberg, Christopher Steeg, the former Flame, Lethbridge, Alberta native, Troy Brower, the former Flame. Hands all big list here. Obviously it thins out down here, but a lot of future Hall of Famers there at the top that we'll be calling a career. And like I said, a lot of guys that were staples of the NHL for so many years, calling it a career. So a lot of Cup winners in there as well. So yeah, that's just a quick look. It's always fun to look at. Looking at the list from Calgary, nobody. What I actually was about to say here is, okay, so here's the coaching retirement. Shouldn't be us because we just hired our coaches this year, so I don't even think we're on there. All right, draft interview process. So what I wanted to do was look at the NHL awards, but I guess we'll do this draft interview process first because I do want to do this. So go to today's the day. Okay, so go to view draft class. Sure. We'll do this draft interview process first, I guess. All right. So, I don't know what we've been scouting. Of course, we have auto scout on and whatnot. So, again, I don't know what we should be picking here. Let's see who they got ranked here. So, they got this guy, this Jared Darling. He's ranked one by Central Scouting and 2 by the previous Central. 1 and 1 by the previous Central Scouting. It looks like it's pretty. So, we should maybe start with a guy like this. Looks like he's coming out of... where's he coming out of? A Finnish league, maybe? And then we got a few guys coming from the OHL and maybe some American leagues here. So let's take a look here at this guy first. Let's interview him. He's the consensus one according to that. So let's see what he's about. So I'm trying to remember what we did here. Let's see. Let's chat. Okay, let's start skills. We got 3 questions. Strengths, weaknesses. Yeah, we'll do strengths. Like I said, I always want to know what the strengths are of our players. So it has to be a shot. Feels like you can nail a shot better than most. All right. Let's move to new topic. Playing style and then personality. All right. Question for playing style. Play style, readiness. I'd like to know when he's going to be in the NHL. He says, I feel I'm ready to make an impact in the NHL now. So he probably will go number 1 overall. All right. New topic. Or not number 1 overall, but in the top, whatever. We do have the 12th pick, so maybe he'll slip. I don't know. I don't know if he'll slip that much if he's a consensus number 1. Personality. This is obviously always a big one. How do you describe your personality? All right, here we go. I don't tend to get very bent out of shape about anything. Very loyal. I think he has a well-rounded personality. All right. So that's all the answers you want to hear from a guy like that. I really do have a feeling he'll go 1 or 2 or in the top 5, I'm guessing. You can see NHL readiness now, strength at shooting, personality. All right. So yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be a top player, so we should maybe look at guys that are closer. Yeah, okay, oh, fuck, look at that. Franchise medium. All right, so this guy's going to be like a, maybe not as good as a Connor McDavid, but he's going to be up there. He's going to be a top player for a team for years to come. So I guess we should probably move down this list a bit, because the thing about it here is, like, everything's unknown because we haven't scouted any of these guys, which is, you know what? I don't think our scouting was doing anything actually all year because a lot of these guys are in the OHL, and how did our scouting not even look at the OHL? So, okay, I thought our scouting was on auto. Maybe our scouting hasn't been doing anything at all these past how many years. All right, so I'll have to remind me next year to go in and make sure our scouting's actually doing their job, because if they just did not do absolute nothing for the last 3 years, and what the hell are we paying them for? Because some of these guys should have something in here. Like, it shouldn't be unknown all the way down. Type, rank. We should have some of these guys with a rough idea of what they are. Obviously, we only get to interview 3 of these guys, so we can't figure out all these guys. So with us picking 12, why don't we look around 12? So down here is where we start to look around 12. They got this guy. What does a star mean? I don't know what the star means. But these are the guys around 12 down here. So maybe we'll look at these guys here. So this guy is ranked 12th and 10th on this game. So let's, what is he? He is a right winger. This guy is a left winger. It's not going to matter. Let's just try, let's try this guy because he is ranked 12th. Eric Slaney. So let's interview him. Coming from the Edmonton Oil Kings. All right. Skills. So again, we'll do the exact same questions here. So strengths. All right. Has to be a shot. Same thing. He feels he can, okay. So we could always use a shooter. Playing style. Readiness. To be honest, he needs at least a few seasons. Okay, as a lot of guys usually do, unless you're like I said, you're the consensus #1 or something like that. Personality, quickly here. I'm sure that works for me. Okay, what is your personality? I don't tend to get bent out of shape. About the same thing as the other guy said. All right, so good personality, same strength in terms of shooting. Feels he needs a few more years though to develop. Unlike the other guy, he's a right winger. What do they have him projected as now? AHL top 6. Yikes. So that's not fun. That's potential. Shoot. Okay. Let's try this guy. He's ranked 9 and 9. So let's see what we got out of him. I wouldn't mind doing one defenseman, but there's not a lot of, like, you look at the position here, there's not a lot of defense around where we're picking. There's a couple of defense here, but they're projected to go around 4 or 5. It's a heavy forward draft in the first round. Yeah, look at that. No defense until this guy who's projected around 18. So, I mean, yeah, we'll probably be picking a forward, I'm guessing. So let's go with this guy. He's around 9'9", 12'10", 10'12". We could try this guy. He's coming out of, he's a centerman, and he's coming out of, let's try this guy instead, actually, because he's coming out of, where is he coming out of? What league is that? I don't know what league that is, but let's try this guy. He might be closer. All right, so same thing here. And like I said, you know what, this draft process, or this draft interview process, so hang on, strength here, this guy thinks his strength is his skating, thinks he's faster than most, can accept, quickly turn on dime. All right. So like I was saying about this draft process, though, why I finished this interview here, is that it is a good idea to have in the game. I think it's kind of weird how he thinks he can make an impact in the NHL now. Wow. It's kind of weird how you can only interview 3 players. You know, you should be able to interview more than 3 players because, I mean, teams do. So, I mean, it just, to me, it's a good idea, but it gives you such a small gauge here. It doesn't tend to be, okay, so same thing. So this guy feels like he can play now, and he feels like his strength is his skating, and he's got good personality. But yeah, like I was saying, this draft process, it's good, but you really can only interview 3 players, and it's kind of stupid because, I mean, you really don't know. This guy's ranked top 6 medium, so maybe that's a guy we lean towards. He's a Czech player, shoots left. He's a centerman, too, you know, if he can play in all 3 zones, so that'd be good. But yeah, I mean, I like what they've started with this draft interview process. It gets you kind of a little bit more focused on the draft in this game. But again, you know, it's kind of stupid in a way because you can only do 3 players, and I mean, you really have to guess at what 3 players are going to be around you. Again, I don't know if our scouting was supposed to be doing a better job than that, but it is what it is. So let's take a look quickly at the NHL awards. Just because, obviously, before we jump into the draft, we should look at last year's awards. So there's your Columbus Blue Jackets Stanley Cup champions. There's your Toronto Maple Leafs, the President's Trophy winners, win it this year. So they win the President's Trophy, but no Stanley Cup for the Leafs. Avalanche make it to the Stanley Cup for the 2nd year in a row, as you can see. So back-to-back Western Conference champs beat us the year before in the West Finals. Columbus Blue Jackets, obviously, your East champs. And then we want to look at team player awards. That's what I wanted. Individual awards. So Connor McDavid, Art Ross Trophy for what is that, the 4th year in a row. Incredible by Connor McDavid. Should be no surprise there. 4 years in a row winning the. So every year that we've been doing a franchise mode, McDavid has been the scoring leader. So no surprise there. Hart Trophy going to Steven Stamkos this year. So I can't remember if he's won before in his career, if that's his first, but gets the Hart Trophy there. Norris Trophy going to Eric Brandstrom from the Ottawa Senators. So a youngster coming in and taking the Norris Trophy. Hell of a player there for the Senators after Giordano won it 40 years ago. There's Brandstrom. The Lady Byng going to Vladimir Tarasenko. Wins the Lady Byng. Calder goes to this T1 guy from the Rangers. Conn Smythe goes to Pierre-Luc Dubois on the Stanley Cup champion Columbus Blue Jackets. Vezina Trophy now goes to Matt Murray. So the reigning Vezina Trophy, who was our netminder in Jordan Binghamton, now hands over the reins to Matt Murray, another young good goalie in the league. First Vezina trophy there for Matt Murray. Again, a year after Jordan Binnington won it for us. The William and Jennings goes to Frederick Anderson a year after Binnington won it with the Flames. Bill Masterson, Nick Leddy, Jack Adams to the Kings coach. Frank J. Selke to Kopitar for probably like the billionth time. Now, especially now that Bergeron's gone, you're going to see a lot of probably Kopitar and I don't know who else, maybe O'Reilly in there. Datsuk's out of. Remember when it was just Bergeron and Datsuk winning the Selke every freaking year? Like, Jesus Christ. And then Kopitar started getting in there, and Taves was in there as well, just winning Selkes, and it was literally just rotating between those players. Nobody else. Now it's probably going to be Kopitar a lot until he retires. All right, Ted Lindsay to Stamkos, and the Maurice Richard to Max Pacioretty. 3 years removed from Johnny Gaudreau winning it. And yeah, that's that. So, not bad there. Obviously, we knew we weren't going to be in any awards, but just wanted to take a look at that. But yeah, let's get right into the draft process now. So we just did our draft interview process, interview whatever. They're going to let us interview more players. I think we only get 3 players, right? Let's just see if they. Yeah, we can't interview. Okay. All right, so let's jump right into the draft then without further ado. Like I said, we're picking 12th. We have a rough idea of some players that will be around us. So let's get right into draft day and then kind of see. Now, remember last year in draft day, we did make a trade on the floor. Okay, no. I'm just saying that. We did make a trade on the floor. That's because we figured out that Patrice Bergeron's contract was an extension. We had to get rid of it. That was the only reason we would trade. I don't think we're going to make a trade today on the floor. Again, I'm going to wait till the summer, till free agency, when we have a lot more time to work with. I really want to sit down and look at our core and see what we have, and then also see what is out there in free agency, because we might be moving out a core piece to bring in another core piece from free agency. If we can make that big of a splash. But we'll start the draft. We'll just take a really quick look here at our team. What we've got here. All right, so let's just. What do I want to do? Find a trade. Let's just take a look here quickly at the trade board. All right, so there was a point that Monahan was the highest trade value. Where is Sean Monahan? He's not even on here. Okay, that's weird. Do they have in the system? Where the hell is Sean Monahan? That is so weird. What am I looking at here? What the hell? Okay, I don't know why Monahan's not on this team right now. There he is. Why is his trade value so low? What the hell? What? Okay, I know he's an exact elite. He's a 90. Okay, so this is wrong. Way wrong. There's no way these guys above Monahan have that much trade value, and he's way down here at a 91 exact elite. His contract is really I know he's on an expiring contract. Oh, okay. 1 year left, meaning he actually has to be re-signed. That's deceiving. It's not 1 year left. That means this is his last year. So, okay. I was like, even so though, with him being a free agent, you think he would have a little bit higher trade value if somebody wanted his rights. I know they don't really do that in this game where you trade for somebody's rights. It doesn't happen as often, as much as it does in real life. But I was like, why is Monahan so far down there? All right, so other than Monahan, I think Hannafin's now our next highest player, Valimaki, Goodrow, Domi. But it will be, obviously it's not going to be Hannafin, Valimaki, Goodrow. We talked about Johnny Goodrow. We talked about Sean Monahan in the last episode a little bit on why we're not going to trade them. I think, we can look at that a little bit later. But we're not trading those two guys. I think they are really short spiel about it is I think Monahan and Gaudreau are best all-around offensive players year in, year out, in the regular season, in the playoffs. I think if we're going to win a Stanley Cup, it's going to be with these two in our core. Again, this isn't real life. They've really stepped up their game. Johnny Gaudreau had a 50-goal season just 3 years ago. Every year they're reaching, incredible amount of points with the exception of this year. It was kind of a down year, but they're still our franchise players. They get it done in the playoffs. Every year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, they're leading the way. Not like in real life. They're actually performing well. I think if we make a trade to our core, when we do, it's probably going to be one of these guys, Domi, Tkachuk, Lindholm, down here. I don't know about Tkachuk. I don't know. It's so tough. He's still young at 25. So, I mean, obviously, Anderson... I like our defensive core. Hannafin, Valimaki, Anderson, and Manson. I know I said that the last how many years, but really I do like our defensive core. If that's our top 4 going forward, I don't think I want to touch that. I know our defense was a problem this year with when we had, who was it, Nicholas Jomerson, who didn't perform well. But I like what we have in our defensive core. I think we're going to make a change to our forward group. I just want to look at that quickly. So obviously this Jared Darden does go number 1 overall, elite medium. I thought he was going to be a franchise medium. He's now just an elite medium, but still he's going to be a good player. 84 overall already, though. Look at that. Wow. 84 overall. Okay, Boston's getting a good player. Like, he's going to step into the NHL probably on Boston's top line. That's insane. Wow. 84 overall. Usually they start like not that high, as an 18-year-old. That's insane. All right, so where are we? We're at 12 here, so we might just sim right up to our pick. It's not going to do us any good looking at these other picks here. We're going to keep our pick. I don't think we're going to trade it. Like I said, don't really want to make a trade right now, so let's sim to pick number 12. All right, so here we go. Let's take a quick look here at, again, we didn't really, do any of these guys, but let's just take a quick look here at interview any of these guys, I should say. So elite medium, elite medium, elite medium. So 3 elite mediums, 4 elite mediums, 5 elite mediums going in the top 5. And then it gets to a top 6 medium. So the top 5 teams all got elite medium players with that one defenseman going there as well. And then some good players, top 6 medium, top 6 medium, top 6 medium, top 6 medium. So we don't want to screw this up. Every pick has been pretty decent so far. So let's try not to screw this up. But again, I don't think our draft guys were doing their job. So let's take a look here at, so it looks like that other guy that we interviewed, not this Slaney guy, that other guy from the Czech Republic, he is gone. So that puts us in an absolute hole because now we have absolute nobody. It looks like this Slaney guy, who we did interview, we know is going to be AHL top 6 potentially. So we don't want to pick him. In terms of anybody else, it's a shot in the dark at this point because the other guys we interview are already on. So, I mean, who the fuck do we pick here? I'm literally relying on... Yeah, so our scouting did not do anything this year. Like, look at this. Down the board, nothing is scouted. So, I thought I had auto scouting on. Obviously, I did not. I'll have to go in and look at that. That is a massive, massive blow to this draft process. Literally means we're just taking a shot in the dark here. So, I mean, what should we do now? This is absolute bullshit. All right, we got a minute 30 here. I have no clue. This is a shot in the dark. How does your scouting not do their only job they have to do all year? Like, how does this game not auto put on your scouts if you haven't done that already? Like, this is just the stupidest game ever, that it doesn't do that. Like, holy fuck. Okay, so this is like, really, this is anything. So let's just fucking pick a name here. Let's pick a Canadian centerman from the Drummondville, whatever. We got a minute on the clock here. We could pick this guy. I have no clue what he is. Look at this guy. He was supposed to go 12th or 10th, and he turns out to be an AHL top 6. So we're taking a shot. Let's just pick this guy. This Marcel Pauly guy. He's 6'4". He's a centerman. It's a shot in the dark at 12. We'll make the pick. I have no clue who we are. Top 6 medium. There we go. Beautiful. I'm glad we got that. That could have been AHL something. That could have been whatever. Top 6 medium potential. That is a lot better for taking a random shot in the dark. So next year, I'll make sure to try and make sure the scouts are doing their job and actually doing something. So we might sim the entire draft now. Like I said, there's no point in picking the rest of our picks. We have no clue what we're doing here. So let's just sim the entire thing here and see what we got. All right. Yeah, so we only had, 5 picks in this year's draft. We get Pauly at 12, and then these other guys who no clue who they are. All right. And like I said, our goal and our focus is not to build a young, up-and-coming team. Our goal and focus is to solely win a Stanley Cup in this franchise mode. At the same time, though, we want to keep it realistic and want to make sure we're stocking the cupboards the best we can with the prospects that we have. All right, so let's move up here to re-signing day. That does it for the draft process. All right, re-signing phase. And obviously, number 1 target, Sean Monahan, and then we'll see what else we got. Actually, I completely forgot that Monahan was a free agent. And I completely forgot who else on our team as a free agent. See, look now, it doesn't even list Monahan on our team anymore. Now it says that Elias Lindholm led us in points when Sean Monahan actually did 76. So that's disappointing to see, but we're going to get him signed here. Like I said, Gaudreau, Monahan have gotten it done every single year. So there he is, reigning UFA. Just really quickly, I want to show you why. When we look at Gaudreau's stats here. Here's his regular season stats. So still put up 63 points in a really down year, but look at the years before that. 79, 75, 87, 99. Looking at his goal totals, 36, 51, winning the Art Ross, or the Maurice Richard, 35, 30. So he's constantly, with the exception of this year, he's constantly around 30 goals. One year he got 51, but constantly around 30 goals, anywhere between 70 to 80, 99 points if you want, 70 to 90 points. He is a franchise elite player that gets it done. But it's not just there, it's in the playoffs as well each and every year that he's been with us. 15 points in 15 games, 8 points in 12 games, 6 points in 8 games. Whereas at the beginning of his career, he wasn't doing anything in the playoffs. He's really turned into an elite player for us. That's Johnny Gaudreau. Sean Monahan's the same. And by the way, he's 90 overall, first line elite player. You don't find these guys on trees. They don't grow on trees. Yes, he's making 10 mil a year that we just signed him to last year, but he's on a really long contract, pretty reasonable, still at 10 mil, I think, for a franchise player like that. Monahan is very similar, 91 overall, so he's actually one better. He's listed elite first line forward, and yeah, like I said, he put up a pretty good year, 76 points here this year for us, was actually really good compared to a lot of our other players. Just looking here, so 76, a really good year here. 52 the year before that, but 68, 83, 82. So I mean, he's constantly putting up. He's not as consistent maybe as Gaudreau in terms of points and goals, but he's still putting up the numbers: 34, 19, 23, 21. So he's anywhere between 20 to 30 goals, I would roughly say. He still gets it done. Is he a top line centerman? That's a different conversation. Maybe, Elias Lindholm's a better centerman, two-way centerman, I should say. Because, yes, he puts up the numbers offensively. He does really well in the plus-minuses. I mean, don't get me wrong. 17, 14, 12, plus 25 last year, really good. We can look at his face-off percentage if you really want. Here, 55, 53, 55. That's decent. That's decent face-off percentages. I don't know if they got much more for advanced stats here, giveaways, takeaways. Yeah, I mean, I think he's still an elite centerman. He's definitely a top 2 centerman if he's not a number 1 centerman. He does do well as our number 1 centerman most years. When you look at our forward group here, we got Max Domi. We got a lot of centermen. We got Max Domi. We've got Michael Backlund still, who is declining, but still could be a top 2 centerman. Dylan Dubé, who's easily going to be a third line centerman for us now. But we do have Lindholm, we do have Domi, but we're going to trade one of these guys. Like I said, we're probably going to trade one of these guys down here somewhere. So I think we have to hang on to Monahan. I think he is still our most well-rounded, best elite centerman. I think he is a number 1 centerman, and I think we need to hang on to him and Gaudreau and build around them with this core. I think if we're going to win the Stanley Cup, we could go out in free agency and try and find another number 1 centerman. I don't know if there's going to be any out there. It's not like when John Tavares was a free agent and we were able to go and get John Tavares. I did that in my previous franchise mode last year because obviously he was out there. I don't think there's any of those type of players out there. If there was, then sure, I'd go out and get one of them and maybe pass on Monahan. But Monahan has gotten it done each and every year. We've got to look at his playoff stats here, by the way. Did it really quickly. I'm just trying to make an argument of why I think we should keep him instead of trade him. I know there's a lot of people that say trade Gaudreau, trade Monahan, but I just think they are right now. It comes down to, is there anything better out there than these two players? Is there a better number 1 centerman and a better number 1 left winger out there in free agency? I don't know because we're not at free agency, and I don't know if we can look at the upcoming free agents because we haven't. Well, we could, but it's not going to matter because we haven't done this re-signing phase yet. Teams are still re-signing their players. So I don't know if there's going to be another number 1 centerman or left winger, but we can't really take that chance. I mean, we can't let Monahan walk to free agency and then go, we'll find a number 1 center in free agency, and then he's not out there. So, like I said, our goal is to get as many elite players now and win a Stanley Cup now. We don't want to let these players go and then, say we'll win it in 3 years from now. We want to win next year. And the best chance to win next year is with these 2 players leading the way. So that's why I think, really quickly, that's why I think we should keep these 2 players. and I can talk about it more maybe in the next episode when we do get to the free agent period. But I know, like I said, I know there's a lot of people saying trade Monahan, trade Gaudreau, get some back. But first of all, you can't trade Monahan right now. Monahan would walk. You saw his trade value. There's nothing coming back for Sean Monahan now. So we would have to re-sign him anyway and then trade him if we wanted to go down that route. Gaudreau, you could, but again, I don't know if anybody's going to take this contract. He's making $10 million per year for another how many years, which is, I think, reasonable. But we'll see. And who says a year from now, maybe it's not working out still, then maybe we can look at trading one of these players. They're still only 28 and 29 respectively. That's not bad. We can look at trading them when he's 30 and 29. But I think we should take one more really good shot with these two at the helm, and then with a decent season, not like the season we just had, and then we still don't win a Stanley Cup, then maybe, sure, we can look at reconstructing our team with these two. We're definitely going to look at reconstructing our team down here this year, but I think these two should still lead the way for us and take at least one more year with these two. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump right into signing Sean Monahan, our biggest free agent here, a year after we signed Johnny Gaudreau. So let's offer him his contract. What is he asking for? 10.07 for 6 years. All right, that's not bad. I wonder if I give you a matching contract to Johnny Gaudreau. All right, so let's just quickly look at Johnny Gaudreau. Gaudreau signed for so this year. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so Johnny Gaudreau signed for 7 years. He now has 6 years remaining, but he signed for 7 years at $10 million flat. Monahan wants one less year at 6 years and pretty much $10 million. So, all right, so it looks like he's only going to want 6 instead of the 7 that Johnny wanted. That'll take him till he's, 30, 34-ish, roughly. So that's pretty good. That's a really good term, actually. I think Gaudreau was a year too long, especially being a year older than Monahan. I actually probably would have preferred to sign Gaudreau to only 6 years. So I like the term. I think it's a really good term. And if we can just bring this down to match Johnny's contract, I think that's reasonable. We'll be basically having what Chicago had for all those years when they had Taves and Kane at $10 million each. Matching contracts for $10 million. That's what Monahan and Gaudreau are now going to be pretty much paid for. We can't go down here much on Sean Monahan. He's asking for $10 million. We really can't go down much. I got to give him a matching contract to Johnny's. I just know he won't accept anything less. There's no point in trying to bring it down. He's younger. He's a 1 overall better than Gaudreau. I think we got to give him $10 million for 6 years. Like I said, that's $20 million between these two players, but I think they are the players to lead the way. If it turns out like Chicago, where they won 3 Stanley Cups with Taves and Kane, I don't think we're going to win 3 with these guys just because they're pretty much at 30 now. But even if we could win 1 or 2 Stanley Cups with these guys, it's worth it. Paying these two guys $20 million combined and leading the way. So we'll offer Sean Monahan $10 million for 6 years and see if he gets back to us on that. We roughly have $17 million, so that would leave us with roughly $7 million left in cap. So let's now go back to here. Let's go to all contracts. All right, so who else is a UFA? So we have some other UFAs here. Not many big ones, so Monahan was really the only big one. Let's go by overall. All right, so Sam Bennett's in there. Bennett's a player we could really let walk. He hasn't done a lot for us, he's a decent third-line player at most. We can see what he's asking for. Remember last year we left him all the way till August, or was it the year before that? No, it was last year. We left him till like late August because he kept asking for a lot, and eventually we just brought him back on pretty much a nothing contract for 1 year. Let's see what he's asking for. He wants to make, I don't want to pay him, even $2 million is a lot for Sam Bennett. He would just want a little bit more term at 2 years this time. That's a lot for a third line player. He is 81. And his numbers, we're not going to look at it now, but his numbers are really consistent for a third-line player. He's... I'm wondering, let's try 1.5. I'll offer him 1.5 for 2 years. I know he's not going to accept it, but let's start at 1.5 and work our way up slowly. John Merson, I don't want to bring back. 36 years of age, did not do his job at all last year. Nothing against him, but it just was not a good run with Nicholas Jomerson. So we will release Nicholas Jomerson to free agency. We can easily replace our bottom 6. Like I said, I like our top 4 on our defensive core with what it is. These guys we can bring back for our AHL, so these guys are all AHL players. We can worry about them later. Let's look at any RFA. So Dylan Dubé is our biggest RFA here. Need to get him signed. Like I said, I think he's a really good third line center. I think he's supposed to be 84. He's only 83 now. Oh, he's asking for a hefty contract. Again, he's also going to be playing on the third line though with Sam Bennett. Maybe eventually hitting the top 2 in terms of centerman if he replaces Backlund, but I still like Backlund better as a second line center. 3.8 for 3 years. Yikes. We need better value down here. I mean, crap. Right, let's try 3 mil flat for 3 years. That's $9 million. That's a lot of money. Still. I got to bring that down as much as we can here. All right, Phillips, who is our fourth line center, he's going to continue to get better. He wants 1.57 for 2 years. I can do that. Fourth line, though, I don't want to be... He is going to work his way up to the third line. Like, I could see Dubé eventually being our second line center and Phillips eventually being our third line center, long term. But right now we're trying to win a Stanley Cup too. That's the problem. Let's try and bring him down too. Again, it's not just about planning for the future. It's about trying to win a Stanley Cup the best we can. Let's try giving you $1 million for 2 years. I know he's not going to take it, but I mean, we gotta give me something here, guys. You know what? The other thing we can do with Phillips and even Dubé to an extent is qualify them. Same with these guys down here. So they're RFAs. We have they don't have as many rights here. Let's go by. Last thing we gotta do here now is check goalies. Do we have any goalies that are on expiring contracts? Just Cam Talbot. We're gonna release Talbot. I want to find a better backup. 35 years of age. I didn't like him last year as a backup. I didn't get it done. Zagadulin. He really went down. Dustin Wolf's kind of our best goalie now in the system. He only wants 2 years at that. I can do that. I can do that for Zagadulin. He's an AHL goalie at best now. All right, so the big one is Sean Monahan. Let's see if we got Monahan done, and then we can go from here with Dubé and our other RFA. Excuse me. So let's advance the day here on our re-signing phase. See what we got here. So Sean Monahan has accepted his offer. He's going to re-sign in Calgary for 6 more years. Welcome back, Sean Monahan. So that's huge. Like I said, I'll take him until he's 34. Yes, it's $10 million for him and Gaudreau each, but I think we're going to win with these two. Like I said, a year from now, if it's still not working, then we can maybe look at trading one of them or both of them. I don't know. I think there'll still be value out there because I think they're still elite players. We could just, like I said, it'll be similar to Taves and Kane. They just don't have the pedigree as winning as much as Taves and Kane had by this time in their career. But it'll be similar to that. With the contracts and the age at what they're at. So, all right, Sam Bennett, although I'm interested in the print. Yeah, okay, so he's going to reject it because he obviously wanted more. Dubé, same thing. He wants his 3.8. We offered him 3. Phillips, same thing. Wow, they're not playing fun here. Okay, Zagadulin. Yeah, so this is going to be tough. What is our contract now that Monahan signed for $10 million? What does our contract switch cap space look like? $8 million. Yes. See, it's not a lot to work with. All right. When we look at now our highest paid players, so there's Monahan, there's Gaudreau, 10-10. Valimaki's in there at $7 million. Then there's Domi in there at $7 million. Tkachuk in there at 6.3. We have to probably trade one of these guys, but the problem is we're going to be replacing them. Like, it depends what's in free agency. The other thing is this is so tough because if we trade one of these guys, are we able to replace them in free agency? So, I mean, that's the tough thing. Backlund maybe could be an option. Like I said, we have Backlund's older now, 34 years of age. We could hang on to like Domi, Tkachuk, Mangiapane, and then again, they all had really, really bad years, but they had so many good years before that. So these guys could still bounce back for us. We could trade Backlund, who's been such a good player for us, spend his entire career for us. But that would clear 5.3 off this table. You add that to the roughly $8 million that we have now, we could get some good players in free agency. Again, depending what's out there. Manson, I want to keep I think, our defense I'm going to keep the same. Hanifin, Valimaki, Manson, and Anderson. I think that's going to be our top 4. Right now, they're all on look at Hanifin's contract at 89 overall and 4.9. Like I said, even with Josh Manson, just making barely $5 million at 84. Valimaki is the highest paid, but even $7 million is not bad for an elite defenseman. Both Valimaki and Hanifin, elite defensemen. Anderson, I think he's on good value too, 4.5, and they all got term left. So I mean, I like what we have in terms of our defense. I don't think I'm going to touch our defense at all. Obviously, we're going to have to get somebody to play with Shillington in our bottom six. Could be Gunnarsson. He's still under contract, but he's dropped down to 76, so I'd rather find somebody better. Yeah, in terms of our forwards, that's kind of where we're trying to make a change here. I could see it being with, we could hang on to Domi, Kachuk, Mangiapane, and keep them, and then maybe trade a Backlund or a Lindholm. How old's Lindholm now? 28. Lindholm's still 86 though. So I mean, the problem is we can't really go on what they did last year because they all had such bad years, and it was just really a down year for everybody. They could easily bounce back, and Lindholm's in 86. I mean, Mangiapane's in 84. Excuse me. Kachuk's in 86. Domi's in 86. Domi and Kachuk are really elite second-line players. They are really consistent as second-line players their entire career. And I mean really good second-line players. They could be top players on most teams, but with Monahan and Gaudreau, they're not top players on our team. But they're still elite second-line players. These guys put up 60 points every year, almost 20 to 30 goals every year for these guys. And Mangiapane was doing that as well. Same with Lindholm. So we have a lot of elite second-line players. Backlund was kind of doing that as well, but you can see our problem. We have a lot of elite second-line players, but not a number one top player to play with Gaudreau, Monahan, per se, and that really elite scorer. We could still use one of those. So we'll see what's out there in free agency, but we have the ability to trade some of these players when we just look at their contracts. So, just trying to think here. So that gives us, if we traded one of them, say roughly $5 million plus the $8 million we have, gives us a little bit of salary cap to work with. Now, do we sign Dubé? We still need those depth guys. That's the problem. All right. How long has this episode been going? Because I do want to look at free agency a bit. You know what? Let me auto this off camera. Let me sign Dubé and who's our Phillips. Let me sign those two guys off camera just so I don't waste as much time here. And then I want to jump right into looking at free agency because I want to see what's out there before we end this episode. So give me a second here. All right, so we're back here. So I ended up getting Sam Bennett signed to a 2-year contract at $1.8 million per season. A little bit more than I wanted for Sam Bennett, but thought that it was reasonable to come back on the third line. Like I said, he's been consistent for us on the third line. Also signed a few AHL players as well. Just got some AHL contracts then. And then I qualified Dylan Dubé and Matthew Phillips in the RFA category. I think those are the only two RFAs I qualified. Just because I wanted to see what was out there in free agency and take a look at what is out there. I was absolutely blown away. Look at this top list here. All right, so I know this is karma because we just signed Sean Monahan to that massive $10 million contract. And I was like, oh yeah, there's not going to be a number one center out there. There happens to be not only a number one center, but literally a franchise elite superstar player in Nathan MacKinnon. You can see there he is a franchise exact. He is 94 overall. I mean, what else can you say about this guy? Just won a Stanley Cup. Just went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Won a Stanley Cup 2 years ago after they beat us in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I mean, you just look at his numbers there and his stats there. I mean, it's insane. This is the type of guy you build a team around. This is the type of guy you will do everything to try and get. There's also Dylan Larkin, 92 overall, also a centerman, also elite, medium. And then even look at Alex Ovechkin here. This is the interesting one. Alex Ovechkin at 88 overall. Yes, he's asking for $8 million here. You can see McKinnon and Larkin asking for around 11 to 12. Ovechkin asking for 8. But I mean, once you jump into Ovechkin's stats here and take a look at what he's doing as a 37-year-old here, 37 goals, almost hit 40 goals again this year. 81 points. Last year, that was last year with the Coyotes. The year before that, 91 points and almost 50 goals. Almost 50 goals the year before that, 96. I mean, you go down the list, his stats are still insane, and his goals that he's putting up, I mean, is just remarkable. I mean, he is like, I don't even know what to say. That's like it's unreal. What this guy is still doing at the age that he is, and in the playoffs. I mean, let's take a look at his playoff stats here. 19 points in 12 games last year. I mean, that's insane. At his age, he had 3 points in 4 games. That was the year we swept them. We played the Coyotes in the first round. We swept them in 4, so he only played 4 games. Still put up 3 points. But I mean, you look at his playoff totals, even just in his last handful of years, I mean, he's still putting up insane amount of points. Now, Ovechkin is 88, as mentioned. He's asking for just 2 years, which is not too bad. That would take him till he's, 39? 37, 38, 39. So yeah, I mean that's not bad. He's asking for $8 million. You could probably get him for $8 million flat. There's no teams interested in him right now. But obviously the most interesting one would probably be Nathan MacKinnon. There is one team interested in him. $11.7 million is what he's asking for. The problem with this is you're probably gonna have to up that to at least 12, maybe even 12 and a half. Maybe same for Dylan Larkin. We're gonna look at these guys in the next video, because we're going to end this video here, but these top 3 guys are really, really intriguing. There's some good guys when you go down the list here too. Claude Giroux's in there as well. Some really good defensemen down here. Like I said, I don't think we're going to go after defensemen, but a lot of really good players here, but it's really these top tier players that are intriguing us, because we're going to quickly go and look at our team here. But when you look at our team, we don't need necessarily second or even third line players. We just need that top caliber guy to put us over the top. So look at our status there, bottom left. We're still listed as a champion, even though we did not make the playoffs last year. Even though we did not, we finished technically dead last in our division. We're still listed as a championship caliber team. I mean, you go on all these other teams, there's really few that are listed as a champion. There's hopeful, rebuild, hopeful. I mean, there's not a single championship caliber team here. That's insane. There's a championship team there. Tampa Bay, Toronto, who just won the President's Trophy, and Washington's a contender, and Winnipeg's a contender. So yeah, there's 2 contenders and 2 other championship caliber teams in the entire NHL, and then there's us, who's also a championship team. So I mean, you just and again, we didn't even make the playoffs. So I mean, that's how good of a team we still have, is what I'm trying to say here. I mean, we just need that guy to put us over top. So when you go by forwards here, there's our 2 superstars, Monahan and Gaudreau, that, like I said, we're going to obviously now build a team forward now that they're both on matching $10 million contracts for 6 years each, I think they have left. But then when you get down here to Domi, Tkachuk, Lindholm, Dubé, Backlund, Mangiapane, that's the rest of our forward group as it stands technically. We should actually go here by overall. And then Bennett will be up there as well. Bennett at the bottom. But yeah, you can see here after Gaudreau, Monahan, there's Domi, Tkachuk, Lindholm, Backlund, Mangiapane, Dubé, and then Bennett's pretty much a third liner. Dubé's pretty much a third liner. We don't have him signed, like I said. He was asking for about 3.8. I think we can still make that happen when it's all said and done. We'll definitely try and bring back Dylan Dubé. I like him at, again, he's 83, but I think he's going to be an 84. I like him a lot as a third-line center with Sam Bennett on that third line. But then when you start to piece our lineup together, obviously, you go Gaudreau, Monahan, and let's just say Elias Lindholm to start on that top line. Still a guy that puts up, and again, I'm not going to go into his stats right now because we got to end this video, but, still a guy that puts up 20 to 30 goals, 60 points, 50 points every year. And then Domi and Tkachuk are really solid on that second line. The interesting ones are, and the thing about Domi and Tkachuk is center, left winger, they're just really good year in, year out, playoffs, regular season. The interesting ones to me are Backlund and Mangiapane. Especially if Dubé comes in as a third-line center. Backlund's 34. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Mangiapane is younger at 27, but he's got 1 year left on his contract as well. Mangiapane makes 6.2. Backlund makes 5.3. If we move one of these guys, and I know Mangiapane, who had almost another 30-goal season, almost another 60-point season. Backlund's been so steady for us for so many years in a two-way row. They're such good players. I really don't want to get rid of either of them at all, but something just wasn't right last year with their team. Mangiapane had a horrible first half, picked it up in the second half. You got to give him credit because he really did pick it up, or else it would have been a shoe-in to trade Andrew Mangiapane, but even though it would have only been one bad year. But the thing about these two is they're intriguing because they make 5 and almost 6 million respectively, 5.3, 6.2. You trade that combined with the 7 million that we have in cap space right now, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, 7.3. That could land you a Nathan MacKinnon. That could give us enough salary cap space to get us one of those top players. Now, all we would need to do is trade, even Sam Bennett, and we could get in Alex Ovechkin because he's only asking for 8. But if you want to take a shot at a Nathan MacKinnon or somebody like that, we could trade one of these guys and bring in a MacKinnon who's also a centerman, and then you wouldn't have as much need for a centerman down the middle. Again, let's look at our center depth here. Monahan, Domi, Backlund, Dubé, Bennett, Phillips. That is, what is that? That's 6 NHL caliber centermen. 6. I mean, we don't need, and then if you brought MacKinnon in, just for an example, say, or Larkin, one of those 2 guys, that's 7 caliber NHL centermen. You don't need 7, you need 4. So, I mean, we could easily get away with trading one of these guys. Again, Dubé we don't have signed, so Dubé doesn't really work. Backlund would probably be the only one that makes sense. Technically, Domi, if you brought in MacKinnon, because then you could be Monahan, MacKinnon down the middle. You could technically trade Domi. I like Domi, though, but we'll look at it in the next episode. This is a lot of mix and matching right now in our heads, but I do like Domi, but we'll see. I mean, that is if we bring in MacKinnon. So in the next episode, it's going to be really, really interesting. We're going to jump into free agency, but it's going to be do we trade Backlund or Mangiapane? I'm thinking to start one of those 2. Do we take a shot at MacKinnon? I think if we do, I think we also have to take a shot at all the other guys because there's no guarantee that we get a Nathan MacKinnon. Like I said, we're going to have to offer him easily 12 and a half. There's one other team interested in him. Let's just take a quick look at who it is. It is the Minnesota Wild. So they're interested in him. They're obviously going to be giving him at least 11.7, probably more. We're going to have to up that a lot if we even want a shot. And I don't know how you be a team like we are, listed as a championship caliber team, and have literally the hockey gods give you a player like MacKinnon in free agency and not take a shot at him. We have to at least take a shot at this guy. I mean, this could be the piece that puts us over the top and wins a Stanley Cup for us. Maybe even 2. This is that piece. They're literally handing it to us. But if we take a shot at MacKinnon, there's no guarantee we get him. Do we also have to take a shot at Larkin and Ovechkin at the same time? Because the problem is all of these guys will decide at the same time. So, I mean, you can't just, make an offer for MacKinnon and then wait and hope you get him, and if you don't get him, then go back to Larkin and Ovechkin, because these guys will be off the board as well. I have a feeling that all 3 of these guys will go off the board at the same time, so we need to maybe make a shot at all 3 of them, which is going to be insane. But that's just a quick look at it, quick diagnosis of what the next episode is going to be like. It's really, really intriguing. When I looked at this free agency list, I started to, think of possible trades and scenarios and lineup situations, but like I said, with where we are listed as a team right now, being a championship caliber team, having the window to win a cup now, I don't know how we don't take a shot at one of those guys and really get that piece to bring us over the top. So that will do it for this episode. Like I said, we're going to end it. It's gone pretty long. We'll jump into the next episode of free agency and the rest of the off season, and it's really going to be an interesting one. We have the ability to make one of the biggest signings in franchise history in free agency in the next episode. So stay tuned. It'll be good. And I think that's episode 33. So that will do it for this episode. We'll see you in the next episode.